Acknowledgement of Country. Sai Ram. Before we commence this evening's program, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their continuing connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. We also pay our respects to the traditional elders in Fiji and New Zealand, and also acknowledge their elders, past and present, upon whose land our Sai brothers and sisters meet to continue Swami's work tirelessly.
Sai Ram. Our pathway to Prasanthi is no ordinary journey. In the sacred texts of yore, sages and rishis had to undertake years and years of penance to get even a small glimpse of the divine form. And yet, you and I have been chosen to have this sacred opportunity to visit his divine abode. Swami has said, nobody can step into the hallowed gates of Prasanthi Nilayam unless he wills. Why then would we not seize this opportunity? But first, let us apply for the ultimate travel passport from him. A passport to allow us to travel back to the holy sands of Prasanthi, where his physical form crawled, walked, and talked. How should we apply for this passport? Well, the only prerequisite is to fill our hearts with the yearning for him. To travel back home, is a passport enough? No, we also need a boarding pass, which is his grace. As Swami says, when we come to Prasanthi, we come like cars to a workshop. We must aspire to leave with new paint, with all the damaged and loose bolts and nuts replaced, with the engine cleaned and reconditioned, and every part spick and span, beautiful, trouble-free, in perfect trim, ready to speed on the journey that lies ahead. To prepare ourselves for this service process, we have organized the Pathway to Prasanthi Satsang series. 5 conversations with energetic and vibrant speakers who will share their tips on how to make the easiest and quickest journey back to him. Join us each month on board the Sri Sathya Sai Airlines so that we can all undertake this journey together. Dearest pilgrims, while you are on board this flight, please remember to continue to charge yourselves with your daily sadhanas and keep yourself connected to him until we reach our final destination. We hope you enjoy every minute of your journey. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, everyone. My most humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. In continuation of our journey with Sai, we are very fortunate to have a satsang with Brother Sanjay Sahni from the abode of Prasanthi Nilayam today. Sri Sanjay Sahni took over as the 3rd controller of examination of the university in January 2016. An alumni of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, he was a student of the first batch of the 5-year integrated commerce program from 1982 to 1987. He won the gold medal for academic excellence both for his Bachelors of Commerce as well as his Masters of Commerce programs. He then joined Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning as a faculty member in the Department of Commerce in 1987. He subsequently served as the Warden of Senior Boys Hostel at Prasanthi Nilayam Campus from 1990 to 93 before moving to Brindavan Campus. He was a faculty member at the Department of Commerce at Brindavan and in 2002 assumed the role of Director of Brindavan Campus. Sairam sir, a very, very warm welcome from all the members of Zone 3 of Sri Sathya Sai Global Council. And again, thanks for your time in joining us.
Sairam Rajesh and heartfelt greetings to all devotees of Zone 3 Sri Sathya Sai Global Council and residing in countries Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and all others who are tuned in to this program wherever they are in the world. We look forward to welcoming you all at Prasanthi next month in December 2022, and this is a nice initiative of preparing ourselves mentally, spiritually, tuning ourselves to Prashanti before our physical arrival. So look forward to this satsang and opportunity to doing Sai Smaran with all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, we definitely look forward in visiting Prasanthi Nilayam. And again, thanks for an invitation. So, sir, I want to engage today's satsangan by posing some questions. And the first question is, we all have a very fond memory of our first darshan of Swami. Can you please tell us your experience, how your journey with Sai started and how you came into Swami's fold?
Sai Ram, I remember this small anecdote being narrated in Sanatan Sarthi. There was this devotee waiting in the darshan lines for several weeks, and after 2 weeks, Swami called him for an interview. So when he got an intimate opportunity, he complained to Swami, Swami, I've been waiting for you for 2 weeks and only today you have called me. And then Swami replied, what about the 2000 years I've been waiting for you? So what we were in our past life, we have no memory of that now. But yes, in this life, we are conscious when our journey began. And I was literally the last person in our family to, what shall I say, to develop love for Swami in my heart. The first person in our family was my father, and very grateful to him for having showed us the way to Swami's lotus feet. And way back in 1972, he was the first person in the family to visit Bhagwan. At that time, Bhagwan was in Brindavan, and my father had read Howard Murford's book, Man of Miracles, that one devotee from Australia brought so many devotees to the lotus feet of Swami, and I was also greatly inspired reading that book subsequently. So my father had essentially only one prayer to Swami, that Swami, give me some sign that you are indeed that divinity that I came to know about in that book of Howard Murford. So he had planned for a few days at Brindavan and his time was up. It was his last darshan. Nothing had happened till that point of time. And Swami came. In those days, ladies and gents would sit on either side of the path, and my father was sitting on the gent side. Swami passed him by, and my father was little sad that nothing had happened on that visit and his prayer had remained unanswered. So, in that anxiety, he shouted out in the darshan, Swami, Swami. And then Swami turned back, looked at him, and even without any further words being exchanged, Swami turned around and walked to the opposite side. And there was this lady with a handicapped child in her lap. And this is how my father described that scene, that never in his life he has ever seen what he saw that day. Swami didn't even wave his hand. He just brought his hand over the child, and from Swami's palm flowed vibhuti and bathed that child in vibhuti. And that one single act of his, that act of compassion, sort of stole my father's heart. And I can say that it was a turning point in his life and in the life of our entire family, because when he came back from that visit, three things just dropped out of his life. He used to eat non-vegetarian food. He was not a drunkard, but at least he would taste wine once in a while, and he used to smoke. And all these three things just dropped out of his life with that one single darshan. So for our family, that was a very significant event. And then my mother came to Bhagwan, and finally in 1978, the whole family, that means my parents, my sister, myself, we came on a South Indian tour. And my father had consciously planned that after visiting various pilgrim places in South India like Tirupati and Rameshwaram, Kanyakumari, we finally landed up in Bangalore, and Swami was there at Brindavan. So we would be staying in the city with my aunt and travel to Brindavan for darshan. So I still remember at that age, sometimes I would bunk darshan, in the sense I would request my father, can I stay back today and play with my cousin brother who was there? And my father would agree. Some days I would accompany them to Brindavan. One very precious memory I have of that visit, Brindavan in the month of May is famous for summer courses in Indian culture and spirituality. And that scene is very vivid on the opening day with Govind Narayan, the governor, Swami in a flower decked chariot was taken from the ashram to the college auditorium. And we had that darshan of his on the public road. So one of those evenings, every evening Swami would be giving a discourse. So one of those evenings we were outside the auditorium, seated on the ground, because we were not participants in the summer course. The auditorium was exclusively for the students, the faculty, or the youth who had come to attend that summer course from all over India. And in the month of May, Brindavan is also renowned for rains, summer showers as we would call them. So it started drizzling, then it started raining very heavily, and all of us devotees who were outside, we just got up and we had nowhere to go because Swami was still in the auditorium. We had no inkling to run and take shelter somewhere. So the only instinct that we had was to move towards the wall of the auditorium so that at least from one side you're not beaten by the rain. And as we came near the wall, we were able to peep into the auditorium through the windows. So that was special. We were getting drenched, but we are having Swami's darshan. And Swami, who was speaking to the audience inside the auditorium, he saw all of us peeping. Suddenly he stopped his discourse and he called somebody to his presence and gave some instructions. That person came running down the stage, and the next thing that we discovered was the first door of the auditorium opening up, and that man was accosting all the devotees to come inside, saying that Swami was calling us. And we were outside the auditorium, literally outcasts, nobody, and out of the blue, we were transported to even before the front row of people sitting in the auditorium. There was a gap in the ground between the first row and the stage. So all of us were seated there, and it was such a special moment. I have never forgotten that. And that also reminded me that, if God wants, you may be last row and He can bring you to the first row, and you may be the first row and He can send you to the last row. It's all His play and it's all His will. So that is a very, very special memory that I have. And the next visit which we made was in 1979, December. Swami was in Brindavan again at that time, but we were visiting Prasanthi. And he celebrated Christmas. I still remember I was having fever, and the general hospital doctor was attending to me in my shed where I was residing at that time. The next day, Swami arrived, and the doctor came to see me, and he said, "Lo and behold, Swami came and your fever has vanished." So that was a very special 9 days that we enjoyed in the divine presence. And that was also the time when the college had started at Prasanthi Nilayam, and I would see the students going up to the mandir and sitting very close to Swami. So that is when the first thought came, how wonderful it would be if I also become a student and I can also go up and sit near Swami and talk to him as other students were doing at that point of time. So that happened much later though, because 1980, when we applied after my 10th class, Swami himself gave a clue that that was perhaps not the time. He said it's World Conference year and there is all hostel accommodation is not there, so why not you try next year? So it didn't materialize, but one very important thing which happened at that point of time was when I realized that it was not easy to get into Swami's place, and it is like, you don't have any money in the bank account and you draw a check and the check bounces. So I realized I didn't have any punyam, so how can I come and join Swami's college? So if I don't have punyam, I have to earn that punyam. And that is how I happened to join the Seva wing of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization. And we had very beautiful memories of service for 1 year. And one memory which stands out, which I didn't understand so much at that point of time, but over a period of time, many decades later, one of our students was narrating it in the Kulwant Hall a few years ago. And this is the story of one student from Bengal. He was also, like me, from Kolkata city. And Swami was with him, and he said, how you have got seat in my college? And this boy was just looking askance at Swami. And then Swami said, your Kalima came and intervened on your behalf. She said, Swami, please give him a seat. And Kalima is asking me, how can I not agree to her request? Now this boy was narrating how when he was in school, he would go to the Kali Mandir, the famous Kali Mandir in Kolkata city, and he would pray to Mother, Mother, please see to it that I get a seat for my university, in some good university for my higher studies. And that is how he was able to connect what he did and what Swami said. And that was literally like a tube light coming on after a span of time. uh, because I remember we used to go to the Kali temple every month. On a Sunday I would go cycling for several kilometers, and then we would not enter the premises, but we would be cleaning the surroundings. And that was a monthly seva that the Sai organization had taken up in the city of Kolkata. So when I heard what that boy said, it suddenly struck me that perhaps that seva that I did at Kali Mandir was instrumental in my getting a seat in Swami's college. So I used to, till that point of time, think that, as Swami's also said, that don't think it is just your punyam or spiritual merit which has drawn you here. It is the punyam of so many in your lineage, your ancestors. They prayed, Swami, please bless at least some member of our family to be with you and join your university. And I never could have ever imagined till that point of time that not merely our ancestors' prayer, but even gods and goddesses have prayed for us to come to his lotus feet. So, this is in brief. There are so many things which happened during that 2 year period, but in a small nutshell, I have shared with you all what happened when I first came to Bhagwan.
Beautiful, sir. First is, I mean, your father saw directly the compassion that the Lord bestowed on the child, the physically handicapped child, and how again when you were peeping through the window, he caught you on your journey. He actually gave you a special seat to sit near the auditorium. So it's very, very, and also you're earning, actually you wanted to be with Bhagwan, and that's why you decided, okay, you wanted to do the service for Swami. Started off in a very early age, and then yeah, I remember Swami saying that there is no point in keeping our money or currency in the bank. That what is more important is the spiritual balance, which is what you've been talking about, the punyam, and the various ways we can do seva and earn the grace of the Lord. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that experience, and really, really inspiring to see how your journey began with Swami. Sir, moving on to the next question. You have been blessed by Bhagwan to be a teacher in his institute. You have molded so many students to be noble citizens that Bhagwan wanted his children to be. Can you share some anecdotes on how Bhagavan advised you to develop character and nobility in his students?
That's a beautiful question, and it takes me back nostalgically to that very precious moment when Swami said, I'm appointing you teacher in my college. So, after I finished my education, I did not apply for a job. I was appointed, and by God Himself. And as you very correctly said, I was hardly 24 or 21 at that point of time when I started teaching. And Swami has been a great inspiration for me. I related to Swami even as a young boy in the form he is my guru. And of course, he showed me that I'm not just your guru. I used to take him as my Sadguru, and he said, I'm not just a guru, I'm a Sadguru, and I'm Jagat Guru. I'm for the whole world, So don't just limit me just because of your personal relationship with me. So when he gave me that opportunity to be a teacher, he also gave us lot of, not merely individually also, yes, especially when I was the warden of the hostel and later the principal director at Brindavan College. But even when I started off teaching, we used to have so many occasions to interact as a group of teachers with Bhagwan. I remember once he was speaking to us in the college, and he said that, see, all of you give so much of importance to each of your subjects. Somebody is teaching science, somebody commerce, somebody arts. So all of you all give so much importance to your subjects. But among all subjects, I have a personal subject, and that is discipline. And it is my desire that you give as much importance to my subject as you give to your own subjects which you teach. And then he gave an illustration of, it's an illustration. He just wanted to prove his point. He said, see, for example, a student comes late to your class. And what do you say? Okay, you can come in. No problem. Now, as a result of the way you have related to that particular behavior of the student never learns what is punctuality. So one day you just send him out, and that's enough. He will know that he needs to be punctual. So this was an example which Swami gave for the point he made. Now, a few days later, I was having a class for the students just after lunch, and the class had already started. And a few minutes into the class, the student arrives at the door. So there could be some problem, and therefore I just inquired, why are you late? Because if he has some genuine problem, then we cannot hold him responsible for it. So he said, I'm sorry, sir. I do not have any reason why I'm late. I said, then you're too early for the next period. Please go to the library and come back for the next period. So I did that because I was remembering what Swami had told. And this was my first opportunity to implement it. And I forgot about it. That evening I was sitting in my room, and this boy comes running to me in the hostel. He said, sir, you complained to Swami that I came late for your class. I said, see, whatever I had to tell you, I have already told you personally. Where's the question of my carrying tales to Swami about you? I have not told him anything. And then he revealed what had happened that day in the evening darshan. Swami was coming along and he stopped by this boy and he said, you went late to class today and your teacher sent you out. And this boy was, at one point of time, he's getting a scolding. But from another dimension, he was so thrilled that something which had happened in the college, Swami is mentioning. And his first gut feeling was that some complaint had gone to Swami from his teacher. So that was what he was trying to verify. But when he realized that there was no such complaint, and in his omniscience, Swami had corrected him, it built a beautiful bond between Swami and that boy. And I was so thrilled to see how love grows in the hearts of our students, through these little divine acts. And apart from what the boy experienced, it was also an acknowledgement card for me because I realized that Swami said, I know that you implemented what I said, and this is my acknowledgement. So he saw to it that the message reached me. So punctuality was something which is very, very dear to Swami. And I remember he was the director of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan at Bangalore. He went on to found the center of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in London. He was a Sai devotee and he used to take Balvikas classes. So once we had invited him to the Brindavan College, and he was sharing with us. He had brought his Balvikas children for Swami's darshan. So the children were sitting on the ladies' side, he was sitting on the gents' side. And from a distance, he saw that Swami had gone to his children. There were about 30 of them, and he talked to the children. And then slowly he walked around and came to where this man was seated. And Swami asked him, You went late for your Balvikas class. And this man thought that the children had reported to Swami that. So he said, a little apologetically, Swami, I was 5 minutes late. He said, No, 30 into 5. You have wasted 150 minutes. 30 children, 5 minutes each. So that is the time you have wasted. So Swami was very, very conscious of time because he's Kalaya Namaha, Kalatitaya Namaha. So he is the embodiment of time, he transcends time. So that is something which he, uh, you know, embedded in the whole daily schedule of the students. I remember again, as a young faculty, I was asking Swami, please give us some guidance. And he was talking to all the teachers in the interview room of the Prashant Lib. And Swami looked into my eyes and he gave this one advice. I have taken it as the heart of educare. Any person who is interested in human values education, bringing up children, bringing up youth, they need to keep this in mind. And Swami said, you must have a time to eat, a time to sleep, a time to study, a time to play. Take care of four things, and everything else will fall in place. And I consider it a very, very profound message. It is a very simple message, but the heart of the message is that there should be a regularity in schedule of a young child or a young student. And especially when I was the principal director of the Brindavan College, incidentally, Swami gave me the chance to discharge that responsibility for a long period of time, almost 13 years. And this little advice which he had given me came back to me, and I always ensured that no matter what happens, the schedule of the student from morning to evening is kept the same. And the reason why that has to be done is because when we are young, the mind is very fickle. So when you are made to do the same thing again and again, every day, whether you like it, you don't like it, whether it is summer or it is winter, it is a tremendous aid for a young child in mind control. So that one little guidance which Swami gave, and discipline is the foundation of success. If Swami used to always feel that Vrindavan students are very good in their academics. As a campus, he was very comfortable and very happy, delighted with their academic excellence. Not only academics, sports, and whichever activity. But the bottom line is the regularity of the schedule and the discipline that they followed, that became the foundation for that. And I still remember as a young student, we used to have these spiritual study circles. One day the subject was surrender. And Swami used to be very curious. He would ask our elders, what happened? What did each student say? And then what did you all say? So this was that kind of interaction, post-study circle interaction, feedback session with Swami that our elders were having. So Swami got the full report. He came to know what our elders also had mentioned. Then he made the statement. He said, see, whatever has been laid down for the students in the campus, it is for their good. If they do it willingly and happily, that is their surrender to me. Imagine, surrender is supposed to be the pinnacle of devotion. If you are on the devotion path, surrender is the ultimate. And for his students, Swami put a one liner He said if they do this whole thing from morning to evening happily, willingly, whether it is sports, whether it is games, whether it is attending to prayers, whether it is coming for darshan, whatever, if they do it willingly and happily, that is their surrender to me. So that was something which, over the years, I realized is something very dear to Swami and very, very beneficial for young people, to earn his grace. In fact, anything he would ask the students to do, it had that hidden agenda of how to earn his grace. For example, I remember this one of my students sharing, this was when I was the warden of the hostel here. In those days, prasadam distribution in the Prasanthi Mandir would take place, and all the prasadam vessels would come from the interview room. So Swami would come and pick up some students from the darshan line, and he would ask them to go inside, pick up the vessels, distribute to everybody in the mandir, and then the empty vessels would be taken and dropped into the interview room inside. So our students, they used to have this inclination and fascination to spend as much time with Swami. So after they would leave the empty vessels inside, they would hang around there, waiting that after some time Swami will come in, and then they may get a chance to interact with him and have some private moments with him. So Swami saw these students and he observed. He said, "What are you doing inside? Come outside." Then they started pleading, "Swami, please come in. We want you to talk to us." "No, if you're not coming out, I'm not coming in." So they had no choice. They had to come out, and then only Swami entered. So the students were a little smart. They thought Swami is seeing us from outside. So they started, one day, they were hiding behind the door. And Swami knows everything, but he pretended as if he doesn't know. So he walked in. As he is closing the door, he found these students behind the door. He said, "What are you doing here? Why are you all still here? You go out." "No, Swami, please talk to us." So that day, Swami was in a obliging mood. He closed the door. He went and sat on the chair, and all the students were seated at his lotus feet. And then Swami asked, "Why do I give you this chance to do this prasadam distribution?" And the students were surprised. What can we tell Swami? Swami asked us to distribute, we distributed. Why Swami is asking us to distribute, who knows? So they were silent. And then Swami said, "See, today you all are very comfortable. Your parents have taken care of whatever you need in life. And here, when you're with me in the college, I have taken care whatever has to be provided for you. And life is going very smoothly. But this is not how life is going to be throughout. I mean, there are ups and downs in life, in every individual's life. And it will happen to you also. And especially when the troughs come, at that point of time, to pass through that difficulty, you will need a lot of my grace. And it is at that juncture that I will remember all these little acts of seva that you have done for me, and I will shower my grace on you." So, when in the daily schedule of the student, service is embedded as an integral activity, you know, our placard at the Brindavan hostel entrance has a beautiful message. It says, "A home is a place where each lives for the other and all live for God." So that is the fundamental principle of every Sai hostel, whether it is in the primary wing or in the higher secondary school or even in the university. So much of service activities are provided for the students apart from keeping them productively engaged and socially useful. It is also an opportunity for them to earn His grace. I remember many years ago, there used to be Chinese devotee. He was mentally little imbalanced, and Swami had told his parents that you leave him with me and I will take care of him. So Swami had given the students the opportunity of serving that boy, that gentleman. And it was such a prized seva activity for the students that first, like there'll be some three, four, or two or three positions open for seva for a particular year, and there'll be some 70, 80 students who will be applying for that, including the toppers of the campus. So unless that allotment is first done, no other teacher can even allot or assign any seva to any student. So it was such a prized activity. And because of his mental imbalance, sometimes he would also be a little, violent, but that didn't make any difference. So I remember this boy. He was one of our top three students in the commerce discipline, and he was doing this seva and vacations also. They would by rotation do it because students have gone home, but the Mr. Chai would be there and he had to be taken care of. So the students would by turns go for vacation, those who were in charge of that group. So the washerman also had taken a break, and it so happened that one vacation for 20 days, the unwashed clothes of this gentleman were lying there, and the dhobi or the washerman was not to be seen. So on the 21st day, this boy sat and washed all the clothes and ironed the same. And nobody knew till one day when Swami returned to Brindavan, these boys were passing by and Swami saw them and he told the warden, I want to talk to these boys. And they were ushered into his presence and Swami showered gifts on them, gave them clothes. And during that conversation, Swami mentioned, see, what no eye had known or seen, that incident that this boy had washed 20 pairs of clothes alone. Swami made a reference to it. I know that you have done this, and he expressed his delight for what the boy had done. Now that incident got over. It so happened that when the boy next year applied for our university's MBA entrance, he was a class topper among the top three, but it so happened that he didn't do well in the entrance test and he did not get selected. And there was nothing which teachers could do to help him out because that was the rule of the university as far as admissions is concerned. So the summer course was on, and our students were permitted to attend the summer course, including passed out students. The last day after everybody had finished, the warden was showing the photographs to Swami, and Swami was looking at the photographs of those students who are now going to step out of the institute. And he looked at the photograph of this boy and he looked up to the warden and said, ask this boy to go to Parthi and join the MBA program. That was Chancellor Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai speaking. So anything you do in the name of God, anything you do selflessly, whether the world recognizes it or not, whether your family members will recognize it or not, whether the beneficiaries will recognize it or not, one eye which will never miss it and one person who will never forget it is the Lord himself. So that is something which we observed with Bhagwan, and all these are ways to become nearer and dearer to him. Ultimately, Swami would say, I consider it the heart of Sathya Sai Educare, the heart of Sathya Sai education, the proud privilege of every Sai student, and that is to love Swami, to love the Lord. And this whole education is ultimately only meant for that. And that love for God is the greatest investment that any parent or any teacher can make for any young child. To develop that bond with Bhagwan right from a young age, because there will come a time when parents will disappear from your life, when teachers will disappear from your life, but one constant is Bhagwan. So to make him bond with the Lord, to make him fall in love with the Lord, see, that is something very, very crucial. And everything is designed for that. I remember one day I was the warden and there was this eighth class student. He came. He said, Sir, I made a painting. The painting was of Shirdi Baba and he wanted to show it to Swami. Now, that's a beautiful opportunity. Basically, they're looking at opportunities to go close to him, to talk to him. And he told me, sir, there's a button here, please can you press? So when I pressed the button, to my utter amazement, there was a small device, mechanical device behind Shri Baba's head, and it started rotating and gave a beautiful halo effect, which you see in divine paintings of divine personalities. I said, this is something which Swami would love a lot. You surely must show it to Swami. So I gave him the chit to go in the front, and he was sitting in the front row. Swami came, and when Swami came near, he took up his painting, he showed to Swami, and like he did for me, he said, Swami, can you press this button? And Swami pressed the button. And the device started rotating, and the same halo effect was created, and Swami was so delighted. This was my honest feeling when I saw it for the first time, that if an undergraduate or postgraduate or if a maintenance boy does this, one can understand. An eighth class boy has the ingenuity to do this just to make the Lord happy. That was something special. And Swami took that boy's painting and showed it to every VIP devotee seated in the mandir that day and said, look what my boy has done. What a recognition of talent. And that is why, when every act of yours becomes an act as an offering to the Lord, an act to please the Lord, then there cannot be anything better in life. So that is how, through various small incidents like this, Swami guided us how we should mold the children and make them not only useful for themselves, but useful for their family, useful for the community. One day when we were seated in his presence, and Swami said, why do I give these opportunities to all of you? He was speaking to the students, some teachers also were there. And Swami said, is it because you're the most handsome? Is it because your parents have so much of money in the bank? You have very wealthy families? Is it because you're the most intelligent people? No, it's not for any of these reasons. And then Swami revealed his secret. All the time, my vision is focused on Loka Kalyan, the welfare of the whole world. If you all become good, the whole world stands to gain. And that was Swami's secret of giving so much of his time to his students. So these were some very precious memories. Of course, there are so many, but which came to mind and which I thought I will share with all of you today.
Beautiful, sir. So, few key takeaways for me is how Swami said discipline first is the main subject, and punctuality, act of service, which always gets noticed, even if, as you said, even if not by anyone in the universe, but the Lord knows definitely. And finally, how if you offer everything to Swami and all the acts, whatever, nothing can actually go wrong. So that's beautiful anecdote, sir. Thanks for sharing your experience. So moving on to this next question. In the fast moving times that we live in, how can we imbibe Bhagwan's message and keep it relevant, especially with the massive adoption of social media as a distraction? What are your views on that?
Yeah. So I think all of us, whether as teachers or parents, we have this huge challenge and concern when we are bringing up youngsters. So let me speak a little generally, and then I'll come down to specifics. See, if you look at this whole purpose of life in the world, It's basically a choice and a toss up between God on one side and the world on the other. If we talk of distractions, over the centuries, which generation has not had distractions? Today, we talk of social media as one of the distractions. But the whole world itself is so attractive, and it wants us to come back to it again and again, and becomes actually the cause of why our journey to liberation gets obstructed or gets slowed down. So the only way of overcoming attractions and distractions, there's a beautiful advice which Ramakrishna Paramamsa, the spiritual guru of Swami Vivekananda, he used to say. He said, see, at night there are so many little stars shining in the sky. Now, however much you try, you cannot wish away the starlight. How will the stars disappear? The only way in which it can disappear is for the sun to rise. And when the sun rises, the sun's light is so bright that though the stars are still there, but they just disappear and not visible at all to anybody in the power of the effulgence of the sun. So that sunlight or sunshine he referred to is God's love. So when God's love sort of emerges in our heart or grows in our heart, everything else will fall in place. Will it disappear? It need not disappear. But it will cease to be of any cause for worry. It will cease to be causing any harm to you. In fact, once when I referred this, few lines of Swami, I took it from one of his Sathya Sai speaks, and I shared it with the students in his presence. And the lines are that all people in the world are mad. And some people are mad for God, and some people are mad for the world. But Swami says that of all the madness that inflicts the mind of man, madness for God is least harmful and most beneficial. And to that, Swami added, when I mentioned in his presence, he said, most peaceful. Most peaceful. So, madness for God. So, the first thing is that, we need to get priorities right in life. So, if your priority is God, then the other things need not disappear. Swami never ever advocated for us a life which was to be led, or even the Sai education system that we have, whether at a school or university level, it is not designed to prepare them for a life in the Himalayas or in the forests. He wanted us to be in the world but not be of it. So when you're in the world, these kinds of, even if you were in the forest, if your mind is not in the forest, is not at the lotus feet of the Lord, it is somewhere roaming around, even then the distraction still remains. So the whole purpose of his entire teaching, and that's why it will always be relevant no matter what technology trends take place or changes take place, is because he deals with fundamentals, and the fundamental is that the purpose of life is to become or go back to the source. So if that is the main purpose of life, from where we have come, we have all come from God, and therefore we have to return to him. If that is very, very clear, then everything that comes in the way will, have a proper perspective for it. It will have a proper balance in our life, and balance is very important. I remember, talking of priorities, let me mention I was some time ago, this was an MBA student, and, we had during the COVID, they were all at home, they were not with us. So the kind of certain limitations we have in terms of distractions when they are in the campus was not possible. So this boy had failed in too many papers in his professional program, and the rules are very stringent. And so he was asked to quit because in the very first semester you have not been able to clear so many papers, so this is not your cup of tea. Now then, he came to me and he was pleading. He said, "Sir, I was at home and I had Facebook and I had Instagram and I had this and I had that. And please permit me. And I'm now coming back. The college is starting. I'll come back to campus and these distractions will not be there, so I can focus on studies. And therefore, all that, whatever. But the rules are the rules." I said, "Sorry, you can apply for next year's batch again, but you can't rejoin because of these issues." So, what I'm saying is, this is not an Indian problem. This is not an Australian or a Zone 3 problem. It is an international problem. It is a problem of the ages that, the whole world is created to enjoy. It is God's creation, but don't forget the creator. So, you can enjoy the world, but don't forget because of whom all this has come. So don't forget that, because that is the purpose for which you were given a human birth. So once you get that priority right, what is required is balance. And I remember once I was discussing with Swami about the menu in the hostel. This was the time when I was the warden, and there were two schools of thought. There was one school of thought that students are having so much of health issues and acidity because there's too much of chili in the food, especially in Andhra Pradesh. The food is quite chilly, and it is so in certain parts of the world as well. I mean, if you don't have that, they feel, is this food? Is this, it's so bland and all that kind of thing. And then there was another school of thought, no, we want enough chili in the room, so in the food. So I was in a dilemma. What should be the approach? Because, we have 600 students, and how do you, from all states of India, and how do you provide a common menu for all of them? So I broached this problem with Swami and said, "Swami, is it okay to have chili in food, or chili should not be there in the food?" So, it was that kind of a dilemma which I put to him. And what Swami's mentioned is not just advice in the context of food, but it is in the context of life itself. He said, anything in moderation is good. Whatever you want to do, don't do. Even spirituality, especially when you are in the early days in your spiritual path, don't overdo it. One day you're very excited and enthusiastic, and 20 hours you're meditating or doing bhajan or something, seva or something like that. And then another day you are not in mood and you go into depression and you cut off everything. Those kind of wild swings are not desirable either in the spiritual path or in life in the world. So Swami's advice was, keep everything in moderation. So, like for a young child, now you have, what do you want to do in life? Is it just to be on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or YouTube or whatever? If that is the purpose of life, then why not start your own channel or start your own thing and make a difference in somebody's life through that. That is different. There are people who have done it. For example, whether it's Google or it is any of these, they have made a business out of it, and they are employing so many people, and so many people have benefited. For example, you take our Radio Sai itself. They are communicating Swami's messages through YouTube, through Twitter, through so many social media. So that's optimal use. So that is the right use of social media. So if you are fascinated by that, why not use Radio Sai? And so many devotees across the world, for example, listening to one discourse of Swami every day, or listening or seeing one small message of Swami every day. I get so inspired by the thought for the day. Sai inspires, and I literally feel that every day Swami speaks to me through that message. So you can use social media in spiritual ways also. That is one thing. The third thing is that what if you must recognize that these also have certain negative effects. I remember Dr. G. Venkatraman, who was our former Vice Chancellor and the first Director of Radio Sai, he was sharing. See, worldwide, for example, South Korea had the best internet facility for uploading of media, especially visual media, etc. So the technology wise, they were the best in the world. And one observation which people have found when, technology wise, they were number one in the world. But it had a negative effect on the people in the sense they got so addicted to internet, like somebody is dying at home and the parent is not able to go to the bedside of the child, but they are so addicted and they cannot remove themselves from the screen, the laptop, where whatever visuals are going on. See, that is an addiction, and any addiction, whatever it of any nature, it is where your priorities have gone wrong, your balance in life has gone awry, and therefore it is not doing any good either to you or to people around you. So everything like this, for example, research, when Facebook was one of the first social media which made a worldwide impact. And then research also was done on Facebook, and it was discovered that a simple act, like, if there are two young adults, youngsters, and one person has, say, 100 friends on Facebook, and he should feel apparently you're connected with 100 people. But then his friend has got 1,000 friends on his Facebook. That one statistic was enough to demoralize this youngster. So what was supposed to be, oh, you're getting connected with everybody, and what a opportunity to get happiness from all around, became the source of his intense sadness. So we must recognize that anything like this will have certain negative effects, and don't become psychologically dependent on anything for your happiness. True happiness is union with God. And if ever we are dependent on anything outside ourselves for our happiness, know that it is only temporary happiness, and after some time it is going to become the cause of sorrow. This is the nature of the world, and that is what Lord Krishna says in the Gita: Anityam Asukham Alokam Imam Prapya Bhajaswamam. Anityam Asukham Lokam. Anityam, it is transient. Asukham, it is filled with unhappiness. This is the nature of the world. What gives you happiness today will become the cause of sorrow tomorrow. You met somebody and you felt so happy, such a beautiful friend. Supposing anything happens to that friend, he dies in an accident, that separation becomes the cause of intense sadness to you. So that is the nature of the world. Anityam Asukham Lokam. Having entered into such a world, what should we do? Imam Prapya Bhajaswamam. Worship me, then you will be permanently happy. So, this is the message of the Lord in the Gita, and we should remember. I remember about distractions. There was this in the Satyam Shivam Sundaram, volume first. There is this narration of a conversation between a yogi and Swami. And this yogi asked Swami, because that is the spiritual path which he has adopted. And he said, Swami, this Maya is so troublesome, he said. Maya is a distraction, whatever be the version of Maya. And Swami gave a beautiful advice. He said, Maya troubles you only when you look for it. If you don't look for it, there is a question of it troubling you. So that yogi told Kasturiji, the biographer, he said, I have never found a more precious advice than that for my spiritual sadhana. So this is what I have on this particular issue. It is much larger. There are distractions for everybody at every age. But yes, youngsters do have a lot of challenges when they are young, and get your priorities right, develop intense love for God, and you will get the right balance. At least the negative effects of social media and other distractions will not harm you and protect you when you develop the love for God.
Beautiful, sir. As you rightly said, priority, balance, and right moderation. Everything has its own effect, and yeah, it's a lot of learning for everyone, especially for the young adults. Thanks for sharing that, sir. In the I know we can keep going, but it's um, I want to really ask a final question before we close this satsang. As we start preparing for Swami's birthday, what are the 3 or 4 important disciplines do you advise devotees to be as part of their sadhana?
It was Swami's 70th birthday, and so many people coming from all over the world, and everybody, so excited. This is what we will do for Swami's birthday at Prashanti. This is what we want to offer to Swami or whatever. So Swami was with a group of students, and he said, "See, so many people are coming and with so many plans, and they want to give me so many things. Whatever, it could be just a seva, but that is their plan. What will you offer to me for my birthday?" This was what Swami asked the youngsters. And then Swami said, "If there's one thing you can offer to me, talk less. Talk less." And it's not just an advice for youngsters, it's an advice for all age groups. Because if we are serious on the spiritual path and want to go closer and closer to Swami, this is something which we need to keep in mind. Because Swami would say that silence is the speech of the spiritual seeker. It is only in the midst of silence that you will hear the voice of God. So that is one thing which, at least in my association with Bhagwan and his students, I feel we should never lose sight of. See, what I want to do or what I want to offer the Lord is one thing, but what does He want? See, that is more important. That is something. This is the first thing which comes to my mind, and I thought I will share that with you. Then, see, uh, there are 3 portfolios which are direct in charge with Swami. It is actually a beautiful quote of Bhagwan to his students and faculty. And many years ago, he said, "In this college, the medium of instruction is discipline. The first, second, and third languages are love, service, and sadhana." So one day he was traveling in the car between Patti and Brindavan, and our first controller of examinations, Professor Nanjundaya, was with Swami. And in the course of the conversation, Swami said that so many people pray to me and ask me for so many things. Everything I don't need to look into, and I don't look into also. There are people designated, the deities, the angels, they take care. But there are 3 portfolios which are under my direct charge, and they are love, prema, service, seva, and sadhana. If anyone has got anything to do with any of these 3, that comes directly to me. I handle them personally. So, to how do we express our love to Swami? Swami once asked our former Vice Chancellor, Dr. Sampath, Sampath, what is devotion? And he said, Swami, placing one's mind on God. And Swami said, correct answer. No 2 thoughts about it. So, in a day, we do so many things. But how much time can we spend for Swami? How much time and attention of our mind we are giving to Swami? Now, I do recognize that during the course of the day, with all our activities, it becomes a challenge. When we are retired, we have more time at hand, we can definitely spend more time. But from Swami's point of view, as Swami himself guided us in bringing up children, the early morning hours, what in India is called the Brahma Muhurtam time, 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., uh, that is a very special time. And even if you cannot give too much time to get up early and to give at least 15-20 minutes, what I call is Swami time, that, parents are important, but this is Swami time. I'm not going to allow anybody else to interfere in this. And whatever you want to do, you want to chant Vedam, you want to do meditation, you want to spend time in bhajans, you want to do Suprabhatam, whatever you want to read, Sai literature, you want to connect with Swami in your own humble way, in just silence, contemplation, meditation, whatever. It is Swami time. And to do it day after day, week after week, month after month, see, that is very, very important. And Swami has explained also the difference. He said, see, there are prayers you do in the Brahma Muhurtam time and at other times. And he distinguishes between the two, saying, the prayer at any other time of the day is like a savings bank deposit. When you do that prayer, you deposit some money in the bank, you need a need, you withdraw the money. So you will need some grace of mine, and I allow you to withdraw from your whatever bank you have deposited, and I am your spiritual banker. But the prayer you do in the early morning hours during the Brahma Muhurtam time is not, is like a fixed deposit. You deposit the money, you cannot withdraw it as per your likes and dislikes. And Swami said, why I don't allow you to withdraw? Because that I reserve and preserve for your spiritual growth. So in many spiritual paths, one of our elders was once sharing, whether it's the Tibetan spiritual lore and many others, he said 15-20 minutes time in the early morning prayer is prescribed in so many spiritual paths across cultures, across races. And see, if the elders in so many races and so many cultures were to prescribe that, it is the wisdom of the centuries, wisdom of the ages. It is not wisdom of the 21st or 20th century, which is just, being culled out for our attention. So that is something which is very special, and I definitely would advise that. And also to do everything that you do. See, Swami never believed in compartmentalization. This is my personal work, this is my family work, this is my Sai Center work, this is my professional work, this is my national service. See, we should not compartmentalize life like that. Swami always felt that spirituality and life in the world have to go hand in hand. And if that is so, the advice that he has, once he was speaking in the Sai Ramesh Hall, he said, why is man born again and again into the world? He said the one reason which is responsible for that is a fundamental error that he makes, and that is body consciousness. We are so conscious that this person, 5'3" or 6-footer or whatever, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm X, I'm Y, this is my identity. We are so conscious that body consciousness is responsible. And he said the only way you will ever be able to break that body consciousness is that through this way. And that was that golden moment. You have to be there to get that precious words from his lips. And in the whole assembly of Sai Ramesh Hall, we heard it together. Swami said the only way you'll be able to break that is whatever you do it as an offering to me. Whatever you do it as an offering to me. And he said that is the way to break out of this cycle of birth and death. So that's a very important, it's a very simple thing. You don't have to spend any money for it. You could be studying, you could be cooking food in the kitchen, you could be doing work in the office. Don't do it because X is doing it or Y is doing it. I remember in the Bhajan Hall, Swami was speaking to our alumni who were working in various Sai institutions. And Swami said, see, for example, you take these boys in the CTBT, Swami used to call the book trust. Central Trust Book Trust boys. They work in the Central Trust Book Trust. So he referred to the book trust boys. See, do not think that you are working in the book trust and you're doing that service for Mr. Rajan, who was the convener of the book trust. Swami said, always feel that you're doing it for me. See, when you have that feeling and that bhavam, the two people may do the same work, but because the feeling is different, the reward is also different, the consequence is also going to be different. So, these are certain basic things about the spiritual path, and as we prepare for the birthday, sometimes people say, what should we do for the 100th birthday? For example, there's a beautiful sadhana that devotees in India have taken up, preparing for Swami's 100th birthday. And Swami, in every edition of Sanatan Sarthi, for ever since it was started way back in 1958, for decades, Swami wrote one article for the Sanatan Sarthi, which is now enshrined in the Vahini series of books. So our devotees in India took up that this Sai literature of Vahinis, a few per year, we will take up as our study and our Parayanam book, and it will be our offering to Swami for the 100th birthday. So anything is good. See, it's not the show of it, it is not how many people came forward to do it, it's with what feeling you did it. Did it help you to become and feel closer to God, nearer to God, dearer to God? And if that is achieved, anything is okay. For God, there's no preference. He has no preferences. There's a beautiful story from southern India. There was this juggler, and one day he went to the temple and he started doing juggling in front of the Lord. And the Lord was very mystified. He said, what is this you're doing? He felt like talking to him because he was so surprised. People come, they offer garlands, they offer flowers, they offer arati. This fellow is doing juggling in front of me. What does he want? He says, what is this you're doing? Why are you doing this? He said, if you are happy with my juggling, you will shower me with boons. And the Lord said, hey, this is all stunt devotion. Don't think I'm so foolish enough to be taken in by all these stunts that you're doing. And the juggler was no less. He said, Lord, when I go to the palace of the king and I offer my jugglery in front of him, he showers me with so many gifts. He fills my palms and with all his bounties. And you are the King of Kings. Today I have come before the King of Kings and I'm offering my jugglery to you. How will you send me empty handed? This is how he tells the Lord. Now the Lord feels, hey, this fellow has made a point. If the worldly king can offer him so many gifts, how can I send him? So he has made a point. He said, okay, ask me, what can I give you? And then this man says, Lord, you only said that my jugglery is all stunt devotion. Can you take this stunt devotion of mine and give me true bhakti, true devotion? And he became one of the great saints of Tamil Nadu. So, what I mean to say is, it doesn't matter what we do, a child will do in his own way whatever the child can do. An adult will do in their own way what they are capable of. The lady of the house, if she is a homemaker, whatever she is doing for the family, she can do it with the feeling. She is not doing for a child, she is not doing for the husband, she is doing it for Swami. And when you do with that feeling, God receives it, He appreciates it. Even if the whole world were not to appreciate, one eye which will not miss it, and that is the Lord's. So, this is my message for the last question. Thank you, Rajesh, for this.
Thank you, sir. Again, a lot of key takeaways in the last one. Especially, you started off saying talk less is the first one, and how the three portfolios under Swami, love, seva, and sadhana. We all do various acts unknowingly or knowingly, but then you went on to explain how each one of them is important because it's all directly under Swami's control or wing. And finally, how the early morning Brahma Muhurtam, adds to our spiritual balance. That was a beautiful analogy as well. And thank you so much, sir, for explaining. And thanks for your time again. On behalf of all the devotees of Zone 3, we are very, very fortunate to have you today. We had a lovely satsang, lovely time with you. And again, thank you from all of us. And we hope to see you in Prashanti soon.
Sai Ram to all of you.